please let me know. Broadcasting from a new place, so just changing it up a little bit. So tell me if you hear me clearly. It's a beautiful day out and enjoying God's nature. So again, thank you all for coming in, joining us, and being a part of today's conversation. And obviously, if you have, as we always say, if you have questions, comments, things you want to speak about, please do not hesitate to reach out. You could comment on the Facebook wall or on Twitter. This is also streaming on YouTube, and you could find the classes from the past on YouTube if you go to youtube.com/Chaim Lipsker. Otherwise, thank you for joining us, and we're about to get into today's conversation. So the topic today is, why doesn't Judaism seek converts? So Jews do not proselytize. Judaism does not seek to convert others to Judaism. Even when a non-Jewish person wishes to convert, the Talmud teaches that we first need to dissuade the person from converting before we accept them as a convert. We should first try to convince them away from conversion. And then once a person's persistent and really wants to join, then we obviously accept them with love. So the question we want to focus on today is, why is this the Jewish way? Other world religions like Christianity or Islam, they proselytize extensively, and they do not try to dissuade potential converts from converting to their religion. In fact, both of those religions have forcibly converted people, and some Islamic groups are still doing that till this very day. So what's going on? Why do we find that most other religions do actively proselytize, whereas Judaism doesn't proselytize? So, a little bit of background. In ancient times, each tribe believed that in its own God. And when tribes warred with each other, when tribes went to war with one another, it was understood that it wasn't just them at war, but their gods were at war as well. The gods determined how the war would be won. A victory on the battlefield meant that one god submitted to the other, and the other god was more dominant. And therefore, the weaker god would submit to the stronger god. It was also expected that the conquered nation would accept the triumphant god into their pantheon of gods and submit to God did. And that system is called tribalism, where tribes that were conquered by other tribes started believing or adding to their belief system believed there was only one God for all people. This idea was carried forth by the other religion that came from Judaism, namely Christianity and Islam. However, Christianity and Islam went one step further. They believed not only in one God, but also in only one form of worship. One religion for all people. And therefore, they set out to advertise their faith by all means possible. Whether it was friendly or violent would make no difference. The point would be is that there's one God and only one way to worship, and we'll call this system universalism. Okay? In modern times, I know the Catholic Church, for example, looks at Judaism as its older brother, and therefore now it accepts Judaism as a valid form of worship. But this wasn't always the case. In the past, Jews were forced to convert at times to Catholicism and Islam. And the concept is that they believed there was only one God, and therefore only one only. And generally, over the course of history, Islam did allow Jews and Christians to live as second-class citizens, but the hope was always that these second-class citizens would one day wake up and smell the coffee and convert to Islam and accept the true faith. So you have tribalism at one extreme, where people are believing in all gods or many gods, or accepting other people's gods as in their pantheon of gods. And then you have Christianity and Islam, which kind of preached universalism. There's only one God and only one way to worship, and if you want to be saved, if you want salvation, you must accept this one way of believing. Judaism, however, always stood in the middle between the tribalism and universalism. Judaism believed in one God for all nations, but in multiple methods of worship. That yes, there's only one God, but there are multiple ways that we can serve God. As Rabbi Jonathan Sacks writes in his beautiful book, The Dignity of Difference, How to Avoid Clash of Civilizations, Rabbi Jonathan Sacks, and I'll read to you what he writes, an excerpt. He writes, Judaism has structural peculiarity so perplexing and profound that though its two daughter monotheisms, Christianity and Islam, took much else from it, they did not adopt this. This is a particularist monotheism. It believes in one God, but not in one exclusive path to salvation. It is the God of all mankind, but the demands made of the Israelites are not asked of all mankind. There is no equivalent in Judaism to the doctrine, and the concept is to this doctrine, which outside the church there is no salvation. On the contrary, Judaism's ancient sages maintained that the pious of all nations have a share in the world to come. Indeed, the Bible takes it for granted that the God of Israel is not only the God of Israel, he's also the God of Abraham's contemporary, Melchizedek, king of Shalem, not a member of the covenantal family, but is still a priest of. He is acknowledged by Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, a Midianite priest, who gives Israel its first lesson in government, the appointment of heads of thousands, hundreds, and fifties and tens. So this is the concept. The concept is that Judaism maintained that even though there's one God, Judaism argues that there are multiple ways of or Gentile. So God unveiled 613 commandments for the Jews and 7 Noahide commandments and their associated laws for all of the rest of humanity, oftentimes called the 7 laws of Noah, or the 7 universal laws, which those laws are, just to mention briefly, a murder, the prohibition of a murder, of adultery, of idolatry, of blasphemy, of theft, and the requirement to establish a judicial system. And if you want to know more about the 7 Noahide laws, you can go to noahide.org. But essentially, God created 613 commandments for Jewish people, and then 7 universal laws for the rest of humanity. One does not need to be a Jew to worship God. He does not have, the God of the Jews is not just the God of the Jews, but the God of the Jews is the God of all people. Everyone is supposed to worship him, Jews in a uniquely Jewish way, and non-Jews in the Noahide way. So each form has a distinct purpose known to God, that God desired that the Jew practice one set of commandments and someone that isn't Jewish practice a different set of commandments. Non-Jews worship by following the Noahide laws, and that's the way for them to fulfill their God-given purpose. And Jews worship in a Jewish way, and that allows them to fulfill their God-given purpose. And here again, we can see the body as a metaphor. As the Lubavitcher Rebbe writes in a letter, he writes like this: when it comes to contemplating the existence of God, one must first of all realize that the finite human mind and thought, that the finite human being, even the wisest of men, cannot grasp the mind and thought of the Creator, whose attributes are essentially incomprehensible as himself, except to the extent that he willed to reveal in the Torah. Now, insofar as the human race is concerned, the Torah tells us that it has evolved by the design of the Creator into a variety of components, rather than one massive uniform block. Just as the physical human body consists of a variety of organs and parts, each with its purpose and function, nothing in it is useless or superfluous. For our sages tell us, on the Tractate of Shabbat 77b, the Creator has not created anything useless in His world. Of course, one may wonder, why did God choose one nation out of all mankind to give His Torah and mitzvot and designate as a kingdom of Kohanim, God's servants, and a holy nation, as it says in Exodus? But this would be like asking, why must the human body consist of such a variety of different parts, from the brain and heart to the foot and soul? Why not just make it all a heart or a brain? So the Rebbe is trying to argue here and say that the concept is that God created diversity. Just like in a human body, you have a heart, you have a brain, you have lungs, you have an eye, you have a foot, you have a hand. You can't have everything be one. You can't say, well, this is the most important part of the body. Let the whole body be a brain. Let the whole body be a heart. Let the whole body be a lung. The whole body be eyes. That would be ridiculous. You wouldn't have a healthy, functioning body if the whole body was one. You need the individuality. Each part of the body fulfills a certain role, a certain purpose, and ultimately, by all these distinct parts, that's when you get a body, a healthy body. So Judaism, to answer the question, Judaism does not seek converts because converting a non-Jew to Judaism is not good for a non-Jew. It deflects from their divinely ordained purpose. Each organ of the body is measured precisely, and if the heart grows too large, we fall ill. If the cartilage in the knee grows too thin, we have problems. We need to recognize that every single person, every single being, everything that exists serves convert people, because we believe and the Torah teaches is that all people have a mission that God gave them, and a divinely given mission, and to deviate from that mission is not necessary and perhaps even problematic. Because if God created you to be a certain part in the mission, why deviate from that? The way we fulfill our destiny is not by trying to be something else, but the way we fulfill our destiny is by being the best version of ourselves in life. So essentially, a Jewish person and a non-Jewish person are both divine emissaries to accomplish certain things in the world, and we all have a divine mission to accomplish in the world. Our missions are different, but they're all fulfilling the divine vision and divine goal that God has for our world. So Judaism doesn't seek converts because non-Jews serve God in a way that is unique and is necessary for the overall purpose of creation. To seek converts would be to undermine the divinely ordained person, the divinely ordained mission, and deviate, so to speak, from God's plan. They say a story of a Jewish businessman who had a son, and his son was dating someone that wasn't Jewish. So the father tells the son, he says, listen, I really don't want you to marry someone that isn't Jewish. I don't want you to marry her. Don't marry the girl you're dating. So the son says to his dad, he says, Dad, don't worry. It's all going to be fine. She's willing to convert. The dad says, you know what, convert, not convert. I'm telling you, non-Jews going to create problems for you. Do not do it. Stay away. The son doesn't listen. You know how sons are sometimes. And the son the girl converts, and the son marries. Father and son were partners in business. A couple of months later, the son doesn't show up one Saturday. So the father calls the son, and after Saturday night, after work, and he tells his son, hey, son, where were you? How come you didn't show up to work today? So he says, it's Saturday, it's Shabbat. What do you mean when it's Saturday, it's Shabbat? Saturday is our biggest, that's the day I need you most. You can't just not show up. How could you just run away? How could you just disappear? It doesn't work. You can't do that. So he says, I don't know what to tell you. But the truth is that my wife wanted to go to synagogue. She wanted to go to shul. What am I supposed to tell her? She wants to go to shul. So the father turns to the son and says, didn't I tell you that the non-Jews will make you problems? Before you didn't have this issue. What synagogue? So the reality is, so Judaism, the same time, is not an elitist, or as David writes over here, Judaism is not exclusive. Judaism is not an elitist religion, and it's not only available to those that are born Jewish. The door of conversion is open, is always open, and anyone that actually wants to convert to Judaism is able to, so long as they are sincere in their desire to serve God as a Jew. Now, that kind of just flies in the face of everything we just said. We just spoke for a good almost talking about how you shouldn't convert and how everybody needs to fulfill the divine mission that they were born for. And all of a sudden now we're throwing everything in its face and saying that we do accept converts at the end of the day. We just make it tough, but we do accept. Didn't we just say that it's better for a Gentile or a non-Jew to remain that way, and converting creates issues and changing God's divine plan? Right? Shouldn't we be really serious about it and only allow and not allow converts whatsoever and say, listen, God made you how he wanted you. Stay where God needs you. That's why he placed you there. Right? How can someone forsake the plan or the mission that God carved out for them? So actually, very interestingly, one answer can be found in the terminology that the Talmud uses in its discussion for conversion. The Talmud tells us in the tractate Yevamot, page number 22, side A, the Talmud says like this: a proselyte that converts is compared to an infant at birth. Now, I'll ask you a simple question. A proselyte doesn't convert. Once he's a proselyte, he already, in Hebrew, ger sheniskayer, a convert that converts is like a newborn baby. What is that even supposed to mean? A non-Jew that converts, a Gentile that converts. What's this language? A convert or a proselyte that converts. So, The concept is that we have an odd choice of terminology here. Rather than saying a non-Jew that converts, the Talmud says a proselyte that converts. This tells us that even before the proselyte was proselytized, he isn't choosing the Jewish mission, it chose him, and he merely discovers it. Okay? The concept is like this, is that there are some people that were not born into Jewish families who are meant to be Jewish. And this goes back to the beginning of time. Abraham and Sarah, the first Jews, were born to non-Jewish parents. And they found God. Subsequently, all their children were granted the Jewish mission from the get-go. They were born Jewish, but the original Jews, so to speak, Abraham and Sarah, had to discover this on their own. And so too, throughout the rest of history, in all generations, there are those Jews that need to find Judaism on their own. For whatever reason, God made it that God wanted those Jews to discover, just like our ancestors, Abraham and Sarah, did. And this can help us understand why we don't proselytize. Because the purpose of it is that someone that is supposed to be a convert needs to find it on their own. If they were meant to be Jewish and we need to make them aware of that, that's the type of person that was born Jewish. But the people that need to convert to Judaism, the whole purpose of that is that they can come and find. Or not proselytizing actually allows that process of finding those souls that were meant to be Jewish, but for whatever reason God decided that need to find it on their own, that they can go through that process, and that we're not there trying to bring that out of them. They are doing it on their own, and they are achieving their divine mission. Judaism teaches that all the souls of all the Jewish people ever to live were present at Sinai and accepted the Torah from God. And amongst those were also the souls of the converts. This is also one of the reasons why when someone converts to Judaism, part of the blessings that we say in prayer and part of the things that we say is that God chose us. We say, Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam. When we make a blessing on the Torah, we say, Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, that God chose us from all nations. How could a convert say, God chose us? God didn't choose you, you chose God. Right? You're from all other gods. Why does a convert say the same blessing over the Torah that says that Asher bachar banu, that God chose us from all the nations? And the answer to that is that ultimately they makes it through the conversion process, actually has a Jewish soul and always had a Jewish soul. And for whatever reason, God implanted that soul into a family or into a body that wasn't born Jewish, and the journey of that soul is to find Judaism on their own, and therefore we don't proselytize to allow them to find it on their own, as is their divine mission in life. So key points, just to summarize real quick. Judaism does not seek converts because the fundamental belief that non-Jews serve God in a way that is unique from Jews and necessary in the purpose of creation. That in the purpose of creation, we don't only need Jewish service, we also need the non-Jewish service as well. And the world would not be complete without both. And second point is, Judaism accepts sincere converts, for the genuine desire to be Jewish is an expression of the convert's real destiny and mission in life, that they were actually born with the being Jewish. That wraps it up for today. I hope you enjoyed. Again, please, in the comments, if you will, let us know that you are enjoying. And thanks for being here today. We're going to be here again tomorrow, as we usually are. And tomorrow's question is going to be a people, isn't that racist? Okay? Again, why does the Torah say that Jews are the chosen people? Isn't that a racist statement? That's it for today. And I hope you enjoyed again. Thank you for tuning in. And I just want to give a short plug for our annual raffle. It's in full swing. And we are making progress. 1,500 tickets. And right now we are at about 350 tickets that we sold so far. We have 36 days left, double high days left, and tickets are $36 each. So if you could help us, the ticket sales all go, the prizes were already donated, and the ticket sales all go to help Jewish life on campus here at UCF and Valencia. And if you can go to, if you're up to it, or even if you're not up to it, but maybe your parents, uncles, aunts, cousins would love to be a part of it and help support Jewish life. It supports classes, it supports mezuzahs and student stores, it supports Shabbat dinners for students, and these days Shabbat dinners to go. On an average week we have 50 kids that come by to pick up a Shabbat dinner. So it goes to help support and bring the beauty of Jewish life to students on campus. So if you're up for it, please join the raffle at jewishucf.com/raffle. Today, we have 36 days left to the raffle. We're trying to sell 1,500 tickets. We're at 350 tickets so